Recording.
Good morning from the Florence Unitarian Universalist Fellowship. My name is Sally Watts, and it's my pleasure to be your service leader again today. My hope is that you are comfortably situated in your home and ready to enjoy another one of our Sunday worship services, virtually, of course. I am enjoying the company of friends. I've got Jay behind the camera, and Ray over there, he's on the computer. And as we've recorded today's service while at FOOF. Yes, we are keeping our distance from one another. You should have received our order of service in the e-blast that was sent to you. You can pause this recording at any time you want to get it from your printer so you can follow along with today's service. It has words to many of the songs and readings as well. Like we've done for so many years, we begin our service with singing our song, Spirit of Life. Today we have Jeff Lovejoy, who has recorded this beautiful rendition to this wonderful song. So I invite Ray to begin this recording and for you to sing along as you wish. I'll be doing so, but I'm first going to step back and light our chalice. Memories of Sundays not too long ago where we would sing Spirit of Life and I'd look out from the pulpit at so many faces it brings tears to my eyes and it's music to my ears. Well, we won't be meeting here in person through the month of April, but we have 3 special Sunday services for you. Next week is Easter and we've invited Reverend Landell to provide a message. On the 19th we have Dean Schrock returning to us. And Carrie Gottfried will make her 3rd appearance on April 26th. We also have a board meeting coming up on April 14th. Members and guests are welcome. If you want to attend, you need to send Ray an email with board meeting in the subject line, and he'll send you a Zoom invitation. His email is canonray13@hotmail.com. And all the emails and information I'm going to share with you today will be provided on the bottom of that order of service. Also, if you want to be a part of one of our mini groups, send Patty Godwin an email. We heard from Ann Lathrop earlier this week who asked us to share her joy in having FOOF an active part of our lives. Thank you, Ann. If you have a joy, a concern, or an announcement you'd like us to share next week, send us an email and we'll make it a part of the program. We also have a dedicated phone line for those who wish to reach out and share what support you might need. That number is 541-590-2656. Leave a message, and one person from the care committee will respond back to you. Again, all contact information is located on the bottom of the order of service. So it's now my pleasure to introduce our guest at the pulpit. Ray and Jay are standing by, and we're going to zero in on this wonderful message from Reverend Dr. Barbara Wells ten Hove. She's pre-recorded the following from her home in Washington State with her husband Jaco. We've got it ready to play on our FOOF TV, and Jay will zoom in for you, and I'll be back later, so bear with us for a moment.
Hello, friends at Florence Unitarian Universalist Fellowship, or as I understand you're called, FOOF. I am Barbara Wells ten Hove. a retired Unitarian Universalist minister living in Bellingham, Washington. I have served congregations around the United States and Canada, though mostly in the Seattle area, for 35 years. Much of that time doing co-ministry with my husband Jaco, who is helping with music and technical support on this recording. I'm grateful to Ray, Judy, and Sally, who have told me about your congregation and given me the opportunity to speak with you. I understand you're suddenly without a minister, which must be tough at a time like this. I'm glad I can provide a little spiritual support at this difficult moment. I'm also aware that this is a strange situation we're living in, and I'm recording this before you are watching it. I hope you know that even from far away in both time and space, I'm with you in spirit. These trying times call on all of us to spiritually connect, even as we're asked to physically distance. I hope we can do that today. I am aware that it can be challenging to worship while listening to a video, and we're all learning new things as we move through this pandemic together. I am recording this in my home in Bellingham. I am fortunate to have my own flaming chalice with me. If you have a candle or a flaming chalice at home, I invite you to light yours when I do. If you need to stop the recording in order to go get it, do so. It's meaningful to do ritual together. The flaming chalice is a powerful symbol of how our congregations transform our lives. The chalice cup reminds us that we are a community, pouring out our lives for each other. The flame is a metaphor for transformation. Put together, the chalice and the flame remind us that it is within the holy bounds of communal life that our lives are blessed and changed for the better. Particularly at times like these, we need our community, even if we have to experience it from a distance. So now I invite you to think of all the many Unitarian Universalists across the world who are lighting flaming chalices at this difficult time. While we light our chalice here, and you do so at home if you can, let me speak the words about your fellowship I read on your website. Our Florence Fellowship is a place where people gather to nurture their spirits and put their faith into action. Our purpose is the development and enrichment of human lives through service, study, fellowship, and inclusive spirituality, and to bring the love and grace of Unitarian Universalism to our people, our community, and our world. With that in mind, our flame rises up in beauty, vision, and joy. And those are the words to a wonderful song that we will sing. The lyrics are simple. Rise up, O flame, by thy light glowing, show to us beauty, vision, and joy. If you have a gray hymnal at home, it's number 362, or you can read the words in the order of service sent out with this video link. We'll sing it 2 times. Rise up, O flame, by thy light glowing, show to us beauty, vision, and joy. Rise up, O flame, by thy light glowing, show to us beauty, vision, and joy. Like many of you, I expect, I found myself reading words of poetry and prose that allow me to connect to my feelings, so I might go deeper into my spirit. One such short piece that is well known to many people within our faith community is a prose poem written by the wonderful American poet and justice maker Wendell Berry. Given that one of the few things we're still encouraged to do during this time of isolation is to go outside, Berry's words speak beautifully to the gifts we can receive from the natural world. When despair for the world grows in me, and I wake in the night at the least sound, in fear of what my life and my children's lives may be, I go and lie down where the wood drake rests in his beauty on the water, and the great heron feeds. I come into the peace of wild things who do not tax their lives with forethought of grief. I come into the presence of still water. And I feel above me the day-blind stars waiting with their light. For a time, I rest in the grace of the world and am free. You may also have been lucky enough to have read the wonderful poem about this pandemic, written a couple of weeks ago by my friend and colleague, Lynn Unger. Listen to her powerful words. What if you thought of it as the Jews consider the Sabbath, the most sacred of times? Cease from travel. Give up, just for now, on trying to make the world different than it is. Sing, pray, touch only those to whom you commit your life. Center down. And when your body has become still, reach out with your heart. Know that we are connected in ways that are terrifying and beautiful. You could hardly deny it now. Know that our lives are in one another's hands. Surely that has always been clear. Do not reach out your hands. Reach out your heart. Reach out your words. Reach out with the tendrils of compassion that move invisibly where we cannot touch. Promise this world your love, for better or for worse, in sickness and in health, as long as we all shall live. I would now like to invite you into a time of prayer. If you can, sit quietly for a moment and just breathe in, then breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. Imagine that your breath is connecting you to the great spirit of life, whose other name is love. Feel that love surround you, holding you gently. Continue to breathe in, breathe out. As you breathe in, think of all the people in your life who are struggling and scared. Call their faces into your mind, and then their names. Now, if you wish, speak those names quietly into the air around you, knowing that others are doing the same somewhere in time and space. As these names are spoken, trust that the spirit of life and love is embracing them, embracing you. Now I invite you to take another deep breath and then listen as Jaco plays some beautiful music on his native American flute. Another deep breath. Amen. And blessed be. In the year 1666, the small town of Ian in Derbyshire, England, was swept by the plague. This was not in itself unusual. The plague was a disease all too common in the world in those days, and how it was passed from one person to another was not widely understood. This disease had a very deadly ratio of deaths to cases, as much as 50%. There was no cure. And when it came through a place, everyone knew many would die. While there was a lot they didn't know about the disease, they did know that it was easily passed among humans who lived in close quarters to each other, and that it could be quickly transmitted to other people one encountered out in the world. When the plague came to towns during this time, it was all too likely that it would quickly infect many people before moving on to the hundreds and even thousands of folks in the neighboring villages. For people, like us today, moved easily between the many small hamlets and the bigger cities nearby. Thus, it was almost a certainty that the plague would spread once it made its way through the town of Eyam. Except it didn't. When the plague came, this deeply religious group of people, at the urging of their minister, the Reverend William Mompesson, chose instead to quarantine themselves. The good pastor, supported by the former minister and other leaders in the town, was able to convince the villagers that if they stayed in quarantine, not going outside the village, they might die, but they would prevent many other deaths from occurring. With support from the local Earl of Devonshire, who sent food and other supplies regularly to them, the people of Eyam kept the plague from spreading by staying home. Many of them died, including the pastor's beloved wife. But the plague was contained, and the disease stopped in its tracks. My husband Jaco and I went to Eyam, known in England as the Plague Village, many years ago. It was deeply moving to see the homes of these brave people, and even more to hear of the gift they gave their neighbors by quarantining themselves, keeping disease and death close rather than spreading it far and wide. The story of this village was given a fictionalized rendering by author Geraldine Brooks in her extraordinary book, Year of Wonders. And it is, of course, a powerful tale for us to reflect on at this challenging time. As I think about what those people did hundreds of years ago, I can't help but be struck by the incredible love for their fellow humans they exhibited. While it's certainly likely they knew some of their neighbors in the nearby towns and villages, most of the people they were committed to saving were strangers to them. The people of Eyam were loving, yes, but they were not exhibiting romantic or familial love. Instead, they were living out the kind of love known in Greek as agape. Agape is defined as selfless, sacrificial, and unconditional love. And to the early Christians, it was considered the highest form of love. The villagers of Eyam were well versed in their Bible and would have known about this form of sacrificial love. I think in these times, we, like the people of Eyam, are called to act out of this kind of holy love. Like them, we are called to sacrifice for others. But it is how we are asked to sacrifice that is hard, particularly for us in our country. For in the United States, when something bad happens, we are the kind of people to put on our sneakers and get to work. Americans, perhaps more than most people, are inclined to action. After Hurricane Katrina, thousands of Americans went to New Orleans to help rebuild that city. Following the earthquakes in Haiti, folks from all over our country went out there to help, building homes and providing medical and other care. After the events of 9/11, military personnel went into action in defense of our country. Action is all well and good. It is so powerful to have a purpose during a crisis. But sometimes the actions we need to take are much quieter than we Americans are used to. Sometimes we are called to find purpose in slowing down and staying put. Like many of you, I'm sure I've read loads and loads of materials about this crisis, trying to find the truth, and also looking for words that speak deeply to how we're all feeling. The lovely Wendell Berry poem I read earlier is one place I turned. And Lynn Unger's poem, Pandemic, touched so many when she invited us to look at this time of hunkering down as Jews do the Sabbath. I love these words she wrote. When your body has become still, reach out with your heart. Know that we are connected in ways that are terrifying and beautiful. This form of terrifyingly beautiful connection was known by the good people of Eyam when they decided to stay put in their village and keep the plague from spreading to their neighbors. We are called at this time of crisis and pandemic to do no less. As a minister serving a church in the Washington, D.C. suburbs after 9/11, I remember vividly how desperate everyone was to know what we could do. Gallons of blood were donated, blood that wasn't necessary for the dead, but felt essential to the living. Today, most of us are also longing to know what we can do to make this better. And the challenge we face is that the most important thing many of us must do is stay home to keep this disease from spreading. The minister of the Congregational Church in Newtown, Connecticut, who knows a thing or two about dealing with loss, grief, and fear, having supported families whose children were killed on that awful day in 2012, wrote some very helpful words recently. Speaking in particular to ministers and other religious leaders, the Reverend Matthew Crebin said, "People living in the midst of the chaos of a disaster do not have the ability and energy required to get their heads around the meaning of it all. What they desperately need is a purpose." This is at least one small blessing of what is happening right now for many of our people. They are being asked to practice social distancing, to alter daily routines for the sake of a higher purpose. Of course, this comes with great anxiety and grief, as well as real economic and physical hardship for many. Then he asked ministers in particular to affirm to your people that what they are doing with their social distancing is a profound calling, a holy task of love. That holy task of love is what our faith is calling us to make real. Believing as we do in the interconnectedness of all life and the dignity of all people, we are invited to practice agape, that great and terrible sacrificial love, that powerful and beautiful holy love, by doing all we can to keep this modern plague from spreading. It's hard, I know, and for some, work in the world must continue. I am so grateful to all of those who are continuing to go forth in service, whether providing food or medicine, childcare or healthcare, mail or garbage pickup, to all of us who are able to stay home. I'm grateful to those of you who are checking in with each other by phone and other media, and to those who are sharing your financial resources with those whose need is greater than yours. I'm grateful to religious leaders around the world who are calling their people together in new and creative ways. I'm grateful to musicians and artists and performers who are offering their gifts from their porches, their windows, and through the amazing worldwide connections we have through social and other media. I am grateful. And even though I am scared and worried, particularly about people living on the margins who do not have the amount of privilege that I and many of you listening do, I am not giving up hope. Humans are remarkably resilient creatures, and we will get through this. And if we are to do so with fewer illnesses and deaths, let us call on the spirits of those brave souls in the plague village of Eyam, who found purpose and meaning by sheltering in place, keeping the disease from spreading. Stay home if you can. If you can, be careful and thoughtful of others. Be kind to yourself and share kindness in whatever ways you can. There are many things we can do to keep our spirits up through this time. We can reach out to our friends and neighbors from a safe distance. We can read books that stretch our minds but also comfort our spirits. We can cook good food and enjoy eating it. Jaco and I are planning to celebrate a family birthday next week via Zoom, and we've enjoyed many online gatherings, which are surprisingly satisfying. And like many of you, I'm sure, we're trying hard to get out when we safely can do so, taking walks in the neighborhood and watching as spring comes ever more fully into flower. For let us give great and glorious thanks that it is spring. From the cold earth, life is arising. From our homes, we can be witness again to that amazing miracle. For in the midst of death, there is life. In the midst of fear, there is hope. And in the midst of despair, there is love. Practicing love from a distance may be the most difficult thing any of us will ever do. And yet, what greater thing is there for us to do at this time? The holiest task of love, our greatest purpose in this moment, is to share our love from afar. But share it, friends. Scatter your love across the world through your words, not your hands, through your hearts, not your feet. For love is blossoming this spring all around us, and that love will hold us and bless us until we are able to be together again. Amen, and blessed be. Let us sing of love. This is a simple song. It's easy to sing along to at home. The words are, there is more love somewhere, there is more love somewhere. I'm going to keep on till I find it. There is more love somewhere. And it's a zipper song, so we'll be adding the words hope and joy in the middle of the two loves. The words are in your order of service, if that helps you. There is more love somewhere. There is more love somewhere. There is more love somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more love somewhere. There's more hope. There is more hope somewhere. There is more hope somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more hope somewhere. There is more joy. There is more joy somewhere. There is more joy somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more joy somewhere. And there is more love. There is more love somewhere. There is more love somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more love somewhere. Well, now it is time for the morning offering. Now you may be wondering, how we can do an offering when there are no people in the pews or baskets to pass. Well, we're going to do an offering in a way that I hope works for you as you stay close to home. If you can, write a check and send it to the church soon after watching this video. And yes, I know many of us are deeply worried about the economy and our own livelihood. But if you can afford to send a check, please do. Or you might find a jar into which you can place some cash each Sunday. And this is a good thing to do with kids if you have them. When it's safe, you can bring this jar to church full of cash and share it with your beloved community. As you know, Food shares its offering each week with a community partner, and today that partner is Florence Food Share, which is working particularly hard now to keep people fed during this difficult time. If you can, please consider sending them a check, or if you can go to their website, which is florencefoodshare.org, you can donate directly. For now, listen as Jaco shares a little bit of music for us, and think about how you can be generous at this time. Thank you so much for your generosity. Well, as you stay close to home, taking care of yourself and others, may you know that you are not alone. People around the world are holding you in love and care. Thank you for letting me share this time with you. I wish you well and hope that someday we might meet in person. Until then, stay home if you can and stay safe. For many years, when Jaco and I were the ministers of Cedars Unitarian Universalist Church on Bainbridge Island here in Washington State, we said some words when we extinguished our chalice. I invite you to blow out the candle on your chalice with me as I say them now. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Bright blessings and love to you all. Amen, and blessed be.
This is the second time I've heard Reverend Barbara, and she has a way of connecting with me, and I hope you as well. Another final message. If you want to be a part of today's dialogue circle, we've arranged to have one via Zoom at noon, and you have to quickly send Ray an email with the word circle in the subject line, and he'll send you an invitation to join us on Zoom. As we come to the conclusion of today's service, we're going to sing our peace song, whose real title is Let There Be Peace on Earth, written by Jill Jackson and Cy Miller. Recently, Ray Plummery wrote to ask permission to record this song. He heard back from their daughter with the following. Hi, Ray. Wonderful news that you love this song. I herewith give the Florence Unitarian Universalist Fellowship permission to use the song on Zoom as you request. No fee. I am happy that your congregations like the song and that you usually hold hands while you sing it. My parents wrote that song and that was their dream, that people would hold hands and sing the song. Best wishes, Jan. So without further ado, I invite Jay to continue filming and I invite Ray to play our peace song. I ask that you hold the hand of the person you are with, or if you are alone, grasp your own hands and hold it close to your heart and sing along with Jeff. Ray? Jeff, that's just beautiful. Thank you for your contribution. In closing, I leave you with one final thought from Maya Angelou. Quote, "Hope and fear cannot occupy the same space at the same time. You need to invite one or the other to stay." Thank you all for sharing a part of your day with us. We look forward to being in your home again next week or on today's noon dialogue circle. Grab a cuppa, and we'll see you soon. Bye.